Hi you guys, it's Amanda with Healthy House on the block, and I'm here with another weekly video, blog, and tip on creating an indoor space that really supports your health and wellness. This week I'm going to be talking about how we do this with kids at home. So I have 3 kids, a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and they're all very different in terms of what they like and what they don't like. And I get a lot of questions about why we don't eat certain things or why we don't use certain products. And it can be a tricky road to navigate, especially if this is like a new venture for your family. If you haven't always had these habits, and even if you have, as kids get older and see families and friends using, different products, eating different foods than maybe your family does, it can be something that you have to have a conversation about, and at the same time really explain to them in a way so that they will embrace this lifestyle of living low toxin. I think the goal here is to create a healthy environment that everyone enjoys being in, but then also to instill habits in your kids so that this next generation of children growing up can live in a space that has low toxins, but understand why we do it. So I'm going to take you through some slides that are based on this week's blog post. If you are someone who likes to read through the blog post, click the links that I have shared, then I would encourage you to head to that post. I have it linked in the description below. Otherwise, let's get started going through some slides and talking about how we create a healthy house with kids. So I don't know about your kids, but my kids are full of opinions. And to be honest, I actually really love this most of the time. I love watching my 3 kids form their own opinions based on their emerging personalities and their preferences. However, this can get a little tricky when we're talking about raising healthy kids in a mostly non-toxic home. The majority of the world just isn't really on board with this lifestyle yet, and personally, I think it can make kids feel like they're a little bit of an outsider. Even if you have been consistent with your non-toxic lifestyle from the beginning, at some point, kids begin to realize that there are differences in your home compared to their friends' homes. And if you're just starting out on your non-toxic home journey, creating a healthy space where you have kids and you want them to thrive can be just as difficult. When you begin this journey after habits have been formed, you're not only implementing new habits, but you're also changing old patterns too. But I myself can tell you it's completely doable to raise healthy kids in a non-toxic home environment and do it all peacefully, mostly. The goal here is to create an indoor space that promotes health and wellness, but also creates a space that everyone really enjoys being in. I am definitely not a parenting expert, and my family and I have our own struggles with keeping our house as low toxin as possible, but I have had some success with a few different tactics, habits, and mindsets that I'm going to share with you today. So let's take a look at kids. Quite often, I think we have this idea that kids are just mini adults. While it can seem like that, their bodies are actually quite different from ours, and they're not completely developed to detoxify as ours might. Our systems are fully developed and capable of filtering out toxins while protecting other organs from being affected. Children, on the other hand, have an undeveloped blood-brain barrier that allows many toxins to pass through before getting filtered out. Children also have thinner and less dense skin and skeletal systems, and this means that toxins can be absorbed at a more efficient rate in comparison to us as adults. And if you have kids, you know that they have much different hand-to-mouth habits than we do as adults. I am sure I'm not the only mom that is telling their kids to keep their hands out of their mouth and off their faces on a consistent basis. But it's this habit that creates the perfect avenue for toxin exposures as they ingest toxic house dust more frequently than anyone else. In this week's blog post, I have linked for you 3 very specific posts about kids, and they're very helpful. It's healthy kids room ideas, kids kitchen components, and then toxin-free craft supplies if you want to look at reducing toxins in some specific areas for your kids. But now on to what I think is going to be just really helpful too, guys. We're going to talk about non-toxic habits that will really stick. So the first one is, we're going to do 5 of them. The first one is just talking about the importance of the products around our homes. So if your kids are like mine, they may ask you nonstop questions of why or how or what. I have come to embrace these questions and really explain to my kids the importance of why we use things around the house in terms of products and why we avoid other products. So when I take them shopping with me, it's a great time to verbalize the importance of which products I'm choosing and why I'm avoiding other products. I want my kids to understand these critical thinking parts of a healthy lifestyle instead of just grabbing whatever is cheapest or whatever looks the best. So next time you're making a purchase of a particular cleaning product, food, home item, let your kids know why this is the choice your family has made and what the impact is on them as healthy kids. The next habit or idea is to avoid plastic in the kitchen. So we're still in the process of removing plastic from our kitchen in terms of how I pack to-go lunches for the kids. I've been slowly trying to remove plastic snack bags and replace them with healthier options, and we've done a great job so far, and we've got a little bit left to go. When I started sending snacks in metal containers and silicone bags, I wondered if my kids would complain, or worse, lose them at school. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that my kids loved taking these snacks in fun little containers instead of bags. And knock on wood, we have not lost a container yet. So with this change, it was just a really great time to talk to the kids about why we're switching over, removing plastic dishes and using glass instead, explaining to my girls why we do things and why some things are important to us as a family helps them get completely on board and know that these are healthy lifestyle components as they get older and make their own decisions. The next idea is clean bath and body products. So this has been a really big hurdle for us. And sometimes I feel like I'm forever explaining why we don't just use any old product on our hair or body. If you have school-aged kids, they suddenly start to see what other kids use and what other families use, and they start to ask, why aren't we doing the same thing? I think it's important to explain that not all healthy kids choose the same healthy lifestyle, and that's okay. I like to explain to my kids that our family may not choose to do what another family does, but that's okay. We can make our own choices in how to follow a healthy lifestyle at home. So I think it's important not to pass judgment on other kids who might use fragrances or whatnot. And just remind your kids that our goal is to create a healthy lifestyle within our own home and not to worry about other families and what they might be using. The fourth idea is to reuse. So using less and repairing what you have. In our fast-paced, one-time use, throw away culture, this can be very tricky. We still work on it all the time with my girls because they're older, as their first instinct when something isn't as new and shiny as it once was is to replace it with something brand new. What has helped our family is pointing out examples and positive outcomes from repairing or reusing instead of buying new. So one way we've successfully done this is through our craft table. A lot of their craft supplies have ended up being items that we're either going to get thrown away or we're going to get rid of. And the kids love getting creative with these and finding new ways to use them in their own imaginative way. So I'm hoping just making this an important principle in everyday life will translate into their future of creating a healthy lifestyle at home by reusing what they already have. And then the last idea is just that less is more. So when we're talking about instilling principles in our healthy kids, the important thing is to make sure that they are more about healthy lifestyle and less about short-term goals. Creating a healthy environment at home often means bringing in fewer items in general. And it can be a great teaching lesson for kids that less is more. All kids are different in this regard. For example, my older daughter is a lover of like tangible things. She collects rocks, saves every card, every note, has a hard time getting rid of items, whether they're important to her or not. And in contrast, my younger daughter has very little attachment to physical objects. She has a few special things that she holds on to, but she's willing to part with things when she's done using them. So if you can show your kids how you're happily living with less and how freeing that feeling of a healthy lifestyle can be, I think you'll instill in them this idea that less stuff truly is a more full life. So let's talk about teaching older kids how to embrace non-toxic changes. So if you have older kids, I think there's also a piece of information that needs to be addressed. And this is that as we find out more as a society, we need to be able to change and pivot our habits in our homes. So sometimes we're told something for so long and a way of life becomes so ingrained in our habits that we ignore anything else that may go against that idea. For some of us, it could have been growing up in a home that was like very sanitized with harsh chemicals. For me, it's still difficult sometimes to get past the feeling that my house isn't really clean if it's not sanitized. But we've found out more and more, and we know that bacteria and dirt isn't all bad. And in fact, it's necessary to expose ourselves to. So if we can teach our kids that our habits can change as we get older, as we get new information, it means they won't be stuck in a circle of unchangeable habits. Instead, they'll be able to keep an open mind and they'll be able to make positive changes that they can completely embrace. It also means they'll continue to live in a healthier and healthier environment as we learn more and more about low toxin spaces and products that are low toxin. So this mindset of changing and embracing change could be one of the most positive things for creating a healthier generation in the future. Teach them that researching is a good thing and they don't just have to do what you did. All right, and here in the blog this week, I'm sharing links. But if you are looking for good brands that you can trust that kind of are geared towards kids, these are some of my favorite brands that carry non-toxic children's items, clothing, dishes, toys, creams for your skin, skincare, and I have all these linked in this week's blog post. And if you would like links to anything that I talked about this week, head over to the blog. It's the link at the end of my video description, and you will find all of the information there. You guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking about children and kids in this healthy house space. If you would like more information or you want any of the links for the products or brands that I shared, please feel free to head to this week's blog post, which is linked in the description below. Otherwise, I will be back next week with another healthy house tip on creating an indoor space that supports your health and wellness.